Hey folks, it is Wednesday, June 22nd. The time is 4:46 p.m. and the temperature right now is around 34 degrees Celsius. And with the humidex, apparently it feels closer to 38. And I'm here at Maryland Park in East York. And there's a look at the Escooter. And I just rode over here from Midtown. And I took the Taylor Creek Trail. And for this one, I'll be hopping on the Escooter and heading down to a street that's made some news lately, and that would be Danforth Avenue. And I'll hop on the Danforth from Dawes Road, and then I'll ride east, making my way eventually through Greektown. And then I'll probably ride into downtown, finishing up somewhere around Yonge and Bloor. All right, so I need to make my way down to Danforth. And this street here is Maryland Boulevard. I think I can turn left here and then make a right, and that'll take me over to Dawes Road. And this is a part of East York I haven't really explored much on the channel. And I mentioned that Danforth Avenue has been in the news lately. In fact, it just made some news earlier today. As I was on my way out to record this video, I found out that the Taste of the Danforth Festival for 2022 has been canceled. And it's a good thing I checked my phone, otherwise I would have been unaware of it. As I plan to talk about that festival later this year, or that would have been held later this year. So this is Dawes Road. Which fortunately has bike lanes, and I think they were installed about 10 years ago. And this here is Danforth Avenue, which has bike lanes to the west of here for the entire length of Danforth. And they're being installed. I think they already have been to the east. I read that they were going to be extended from Dawes Road east over to Victoria Park Avenue, which would lead them all the way to Scarborough. That's about a 700-meter extension. And I just looked left and they appear to be installed. And this is west on Danforth Avenue through a part of town known as East Danforth. And I seem to be riding into a pretty good breeze. And these bike lanes here were initially installed in summer of 2020 during the pandemic. Here's Main Street, and just on the right is Main Street Station. And to the left you'll find Danforth GO Station. And they were such a success that as of December last year, City Council voted to make them permanent. I think as soon as they opened, there was a reported 40% increase in bicycle traffic on them, or on Danforth. And this is Westlake Avenue. And it is hot. Young's e-bikes. And I think the total length of the bike lanes along Danforth are a little under 6 kilometers. And you'll notice some new condos going up along this stretch. And it makes a lot of sense to be intensifying along Danforth, as there is a subway line here. It was built using a cut and cover method, and it runs just north of Danforth, about half a block or so parallel to it. And that opened in 1966. And I think before that there was a rather extensive streetcar network that covered this part of town. Really always struck me as a bit surprising that Danforth seems so underdeveloped. It's mostly just two-story buildings along Danforth, and then as soon as you go north or south, you're in a sea of single detached homes. And for a city having a housing crisis and an affordability crisis, it really doesn't make sense for a street with a major transit line on it to be so underdeveloped. And you'll notice the bike lane here has been rerouted to make way for Cafe Tio, so there's going to be a lot of sidewalk patios popping up between here and Broadview. And that's ultimately what has led to the cancellation of the Taste of the Danforth Festival. And this is Woodbine Avenue I just passed. And look at this thing straight ahead, holding up traffic. And this is Woodmount Avenue. In fact, most of the news concerning Danforth Avenue takes place more to the west of here, in the Greektown area. And this is Glebemount Avenue. Man, it's a good thing I wore my sunscreen. So this was originally a 2-lane road, but when the bike lanes went in, it was reduced to 1 lane with street parking, and now with these sidewalk patios popping up, some of that street parking has been lost. This is Whittington Avenue. So every year, the BIA along Danforth through Greektown holds the Taste of the Danforth Festival. And that runs roughly between Broadview Avenue and Coxwell. And we're not quite there yet. And they've been holding that every year since, I think, 1994. And it was initially quite small with around 5,000 in attendance. But it has ballooned into being the busiest street festival of its kind in the city, with over 1.5 million visitors every year. Well, every year except for the last 2. And earlier today, they announced that it's been canceled for 2022. This here is Coxwell. And the reason they cited were the addition of the bike lanes and the Cafe TO patios did not have enough room for them to hold all their events and vendors along the street. And apparently they had asked the city to remove everything just for the weekend-long festival, and the city said that they weren't going to do that, and even if they were, it would take over 9 days to fully take everything down and put it back up. And that the event organizers should really just deal with it. And despite having ample notice, these bike lanes were made permanent in December, and they've known about the Cafe TO program for quite a while. Rather than work around it, they just decided to cancel the event this year. So it'll be 3 years in a row for the Taste of the Danforth Festival. They did say they might hold some smaller events in its place. But I recently went to the Due West Festival on Dundas, which is a fairly narrow street, as well as Taste of Little Italy, which has bike lanes, and neither of those seem to be affected. And this area here is affectionately known as Little Ethiopia. Well, it's not officially called that. I think it's between Monarch Park and Greenwood. Although, truthfully, I don't think I'll miss Taste of the Danforth. It was really kind of overcrowded. You couldn't really walk through the streets without being shoulder to shoulder. And the lineups at various food vendors were kind of ridiculous. And over the years, they'd be becoming more and more overpriced. So this here is Greenwood Avenue. And a lot of the street festivals in the city have really started to look and feel the same. I noticed between Do West Fest and Taste of Little Italy, a lot of the vendors were the same. And it was the same games and rides and attractions. And you'd all see the same things pop up at Taste of the Danforth. That's smart, going the wrong way on the bike path. And that cop is trying to get people to clear out of the way. And the other thing that Danforth has been in the news for is between Greenwood, which I've passed, and Broadview, there's been over 200 of these buildings declared to have heritage status by the city. So that's a lot of these buildings I'm going by. A lot of them are around 100 years old, but they're not really of any historical significance, and they're certainly not architecturally worth saving. I think really that's just the city caving to NIMBY pressure, and that'll really make it difficult for developers to build projects along Danforth, which, as I was talking about earlier, the city needs more housing, and this is a logical place for that to spring up. So it's kind of perplexing why they would block development effectively along the stretch. There will be costly workarounds for developers. They could always try to preserve the facade. And it's not really high-rises that are needed, but more mid-rise development. There's this mindset that when you move into a neighborhood, you're kind of entitled to enjoy it the way it was when you moved in, and that it should stop evolving and changing to meet the city's needs. And this is Woodycrest Avenue. So we have entered Greektown. So Taste of the Danforth, I think, is normally on the first week of August. That's along this stretch of Danforth, so this is the impacted area. I think there's plenty of room to hold a street festival. And this is PAPE coming up, and on the right, this building will be demolished to make way for an Ontario Line subway station. So here's PAPE Avenue, and just to the north of here is PAPE Village. And here is Carlaw Avenue. I'm just noticing, but the guy in front of me is wearing long sleeves and a vest. He's wearing that, and I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and I'm dripping with sweat. And I'm not even pedaling like him. Okay, there's some solid driving right there. Here's Chester Avenue, and you'll find Chester subway station just to the north of here. All the subway stations are kind of hidden and out of the way, as they're half a block north of Danforth. And we are out of Greektown and into an area known as the Plater Estates. And coming up is Broadview. That's where you'll find Broadview subway station. Just to the left is Riverdale Park East. And heading straight will take us over the Danforth Viaducts and over the Don Valley Parkway and Don River. And there's a sight I have not seen in a long time, a streetcar. They have returned to Broadview. I think it's been about a year and a half since I've last seen them running up and down Broadview. And this is where Danforth Avenue ends and Bloor Street East begins. And on the other side of the viaducts, takes us into downtown. You could also take this bike lane continuously all the way into Bloor West Village. Although there are a few stretches where the bike lane disappears due to some construction, and there's never been a bike lane in those stretches. So I guess it's a bit disingenuous to call it continuous. And these streetlights appear to be down. This is Castle Frank Station just on the right here.
Go as a group. Be safer.
I'm just going to follow this guy through. And we're into downtown. And to the right is the Rosedale neighborhood. I did an e-scooter ride through there last week. And straight ahead on the left is St. Jamestown. And the bike lane temporarily comes to an end. They are replacing the Glen Road pedestrian bridge, which heads across the valley, and I think that project's going to take a few years to complete. That's what's going on here on the right. On your right. You don't normally pass on the right, but that guy was left of the bike lane and he was going slower. And here is Mount Pleasant. And it's nice to be amongst the shadows cast by the skyscrapers in the area. I don't know if you call these skyscrapers, but high rises. And here is Church Street. And this is going to be a buzz as of Friday, as the annual Pride Festival kicks off, the street festival portion. topped off by the big parade on Sunday. And here is Young and Bloor coming up. And this guy in front of me is a very courteous rider. Oh, that car. I don't think it saw me when he pulled out. Here is Yorkville Avenue. And on the right is the Toronto Reference Library. This may not be the best spot to end, but it's certainly a spot. Let's see, how long was that ride? .6 kilometers. And on that note, I hope you enjoyed this one. Heading west along Danforth Avenue and then to Bloor Street East. Eventually finishing up just north of the intersection of Yonge and Bloor. There's the Escooter. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below and what you think of the Taste of the Danforth being closed this year. And if you wish to support the channel, there's links to my Patreon and YouTube channel membership in the description. I have an Instagram account at Johnny Strides. And there's now a super thanks button appearing below these videos if you wish to say thanks that way. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.